What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. We are just now starting the LPL playoffs. We are in playoff mode for LTA and LEC, and LCK has one more week to decide not the playoffs, but who will be in the Legends Group and who will be in the Rise Group for the rounds 3 through 5. dGon here alongside Jamada and Dom. And let's start off as we have done since he became an owner of an organization. We go with Dom in the sack tap. Let's get to it. All right, so your boys haven't played yet. They do battle in Copenhagen, right? It's in Copenhagen?
Yep.
In Copenhagen against Los Ratones. This is the match. We're finally having it. Los Ratones up against Ruddy Sack for a slot in EU Masters. It is kind of like the first time Hanwha played T1 during LCK Cup. You only get one series at it. The stakes are high. How are you feeling going into that matchup?
I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm happy about the fact that the boys are actually getting to play live on a big stage like this. I feel like this is kind of the dream. And yeah, we're able to actually get there. So I'm really happy that everyone's going to be able to have this experience. Yeah, I mean, for some of our players, it's the first time they played on a big stage like this. So it's the dream, you know, like I was lucky enough in my career to have this experience myself. So I know what it's like playing in front of like the crowd in the big stage. It's just really cool to have that under your belt. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be good for everyone. And yeah, I'm just happy that we were able to qualify and have a turnaround split, because the first split was just so fucking depressing that, like, you know, we were even talking about, like, do we even want to fucking keep on doing this shit? Like, is this going to be like, you know, something that's just going to be negative for everyone involved? Like, it just wasn't fun. And then now seeing the turnaround and like getting the payoff felt really good.
Jamada, is it a shame that it's happening only once and the stakes are this high? I mean, I guess the stakes being this high is great.
I mean,
but the cost of it only happening once.
I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you lose the way you did in winter, right? You don't get the you don't get the double matchup. So unfortunately, it's now the first time in May that we get to see them play.
I mean, they
and to
also
be honest
lost
with you,
to Nord, so they
also then they lost to Nord, yeah. So like they've both fucked up twice to deny us this matchup. Kind of at least like twice a split, right? But you know what? I think if I was Ruddy Sack, I would feel not only obviously excited to be going to the LAN event, but if you've watched the tape, if like I know like a lot of our viewers might not necessarily be like NLC viewers, but if you've watched the tape on Los Ratones the last few series, like unironically, they've not looked good. They're just better than the other teams because the other teams are shit. So this is kind of a good time. Like this is a good time to be playing Los Ratones, in my opinion. They are going through a point in their kind of development where they're on a dip. Now you guys might get unlucky. They might like be bouncing back as they hit this series. That's very, very
also
possible.
It's like stage. Like I feel like
the stage, right? So like exactly, you know, so yeah, like, you know, Nemesis, Crowdy, Reckless, they're gonna carry a lot of that burden on stage. But genuinely, I feel like, you know, the caliber of the rest of the teams in the NLC just haven't been high enough to punish the way that Los Ratones have been playing as of late, right? There was some creative stuff from the Venicrest boys. They tried to do the whole like the meme of pick all of one player's champions. It didn't work, and see if they could reduce them out of the series. But yeah, I think for Ruddy's side, this is going to be wicked. I don't know if they're already there. I know a lot of the staff are already there from the NLC side. Los Ratones are already there boot camping. But yeah, this will be an excellent opportunity for everyone. And like I said, I think this is probably the best time for Ruddy Sack to actually be playing Los Ratones, to try and like actually push them into like a weird spot where they haven't really been pressed before, outside of just Nord in what was still like a best of 3. So it wasn't even a best of 5.
Yeah, what a great experience for the people that are able to make it on out to Copenhagen. You get 2 very big orgs with massive stakes that means something there. Beyond winning just NLC, it feels like the NLC championship match is going to be less hype than the qualifier, Dom.
I mean, it depends, right? Like, I mean, obviously Yankos is fans, but I think the thing that's interesting about this is that now, like, Ruddy Sack feels more like what the Ruddy Sack project was supposed to be. It just feels like, you know, more fun to just root for the team, whereas before it just felt like it's like, oh, you have a bunch of like ex-LEC players, which is kind of now what Nord is, right? It's like they have 4 players. Well, 3. I mean, Zyru played a little bit earlier, but he's not playing anymore. But yeah, you just have players that have played the highest level before, so it feels almost like you're kind of punching down. But like now, Ruddy Sack feels like the up and coming team. We feel like the underdogs, in a way. So I really like the vibe of the team and just like seeing how far that we can push everything.
Well, good luck. Best of luck. Going to be a ton of fun and a lot of eyes on that match on Saturday. I believe it's Saturday.
Yep, Saturday. At 4 a.m. my time. They decided to schedule it. NLC this entire time. NLC this entire time has been on at 11 a.m. my time, by the way. Like, it's just been in the middle of the day or like the night, actually, for Europe consistently. Yep. And then for this event, they're like, you know what? Put it in the morning. Did it, what the fuck? Why? Yeah, whose idea was it to put it in the fucking morning? Like,
the obvious context here. The obvious context here. I know it is really frustrating. The obvious context here is because our schedule isn't synced up with, like, let's say the LEC stopped. They had a break week last week, right? But our finals didn't take place last week. It's taking place this week. So that's like, well, they can't clash with the LEC. Don't ask me, bro. They decide, like, why? Look, we could have been. Look, I'm just gonna say this. We could have been done. Last split, we did 3-day weeks, right? We could have condensed it down. We could have had our finals in that break week, most likely, right? If we really, really tried hard enough. I'm just gonna guess it was some kind of logistics thing, booking out the arena. I don't know when they set that up. I don't know how that all went down. I'm just a freelancer. I don't have this information.
Okay, now you're not to blame. Okay, no.
Yeah.
No, didn't ruin it.
I didn't ruin it. But I'm not even gonna be in Denmark. I've got somewhere else to be, unfortunately. So I'm not gonna make it. I can't see you guys do this live.
Where do you have to be? Where do you have to be?
I've got to be at a wedding, mate. I've been invited to a wedding, unfortunately, so I can't show up. Slightly bigger obligation for me.
Are you going Sunday?
But, I'm going Friday, Saturday, and then I'm coming back Sunday. Oh, so I'm also missing the finals too. Like, I'm going to be traveling during finals. But yeah, so nice. Like they can't clash with the LEC because the LEC is on later that day. They will, at least, if you happen to be one of the viewers who's going to Denmark, going to Copenhagen to watch this event, they will probably do some kind of LEC watch party somewhere for that weekend game of days, day of games. But it's not like last time where it was synced up with finals either. So anyway, fuck your sleep schedule, Dom. That's what they
I mean, I was already going to be up at 4 a.m., but I'm mainly pissed about it being
LPL stuff.
Yeah, it's like colliding with a double whammy of LPL. Like, what the hell, man?
Ooh,
also, it'll be 6 p.m. LCK, which is like we're going to be during our broadcast as well. All right. Well, we'll have it on a second monitor and I'll be cheering you on. It'll be a lot of fun to keep track of that. That's not the only team that you're involved with that I guess has action coming up next week, because Cloud9 took care of business. They got it done, not only in a just getting it over the line, but in a dominating fashion against 2 different junglers for TL. A 3-0 victory, a shutout here into the best of 5s. How did it feel, man?
It was a super weird feeling, because normally we're a team that like dominates scrims. Like, we're like one of the best scrim teams. Normally us and FlyQuest just shitting on most teams, and we had our worst week of scrims like ever by far going into this. Like, we were just literally throwing every game we played. Like, our mid games were just terrible. We were throwing every single game that we played. We even canceled one of the days because it was just like so depressing. Just just watching like us lose to these teams that were clearly better than in the same way. It wasn't even like it felt like we were losing multiple different games. It was the worst feeling because you feel like you lost the same game 10 times. That's even worse than losing like different games, you know? So it was going like, I didn't know what to expect, because obviously, like, you know, we had a meeting, we talked about everything. We're like, all right, this is how we're going to tighten up. This is going to be what our plan is going into the next day. But I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know if like we were just going to show up and just be like bad now. Like, are we going to perform well? What it was going to be. So it was really surprising to see us play so well, especially in the phases of the game that we had like struggled in scrims. I was like, what the fuck? Like, are we just trolling on purpose and fucking like, are we just fucking griefing me? So I have to coach this bullshit? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? So I mean, I was very confusing. It was very confusing, but we ended up getting it done. So I I was happy with it. And I thought that we played like really solid games for the most part. Like it felt like everyone was on point. I looked at the communication. The communication was like significantly better than it's been in scrims. Like our planning was so much better. So I was like, what the fuck? Like what's actually going on here? But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just a good performance. I was surprised that so many people had us as like underdogs to TL, because I feel like, you know, like this split, we'd already beat them 3-0 in the games that we'd played against them, right? So we'd already been beating them when we had been playing against them. This split. But also, it's like we just had like one bad series into FlyQuest that was honestly, it looked worse than it actually was. If you were watching the games, it's like we opted into fights that lost us the game. It wasn't like, oh man, we're getting like shat on everywhere and no one can play in the game, which I feel like is a significantly worse way to lose, where it just feels like you can't breathe in the game. It's like, holy fuck, we're just so outclassed. So we were underdogs in the series. But I still felt like for some reason we were going to win. It was very weird. Like I just had this feeling we were going to win, even though the scrims went bad. It's like just when you woke up on the day, it was like, all right, talk to the boys real quick. Just gave like a couple reminders before we went on stage, and just I don't know, we're just able to get it done. So I was happy with how people performed. Like I thought it was a good performance overall, and yeah, I was really happy that we get this buy now. Like we're guaranteed top 3. We get a buy. We're probably gonna play FlyQuest twice if we're being honest with how the bracket looks. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good experience.
Jamada, get in there. What'd you make of the series?
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. Were they actually saying this was like C9 underdog like territory? Because I'd like never had that on the read.
Desk. It was split on the desk. I think like somebody had us losing 3-1, another team had us winning. Sure. But it was like, I don't know. I just don't know how. Like, I mean, I feel like we should be favorites going into this.
Yeah, I mean, I had it at 3-1, like 3-1 C9 personally. I felt like whilst TL's performance in that previous series obviously looked good and it was very centered around the UG, TL still had a lot to prove. And to me, the pecking order seems relatively clear for the time being, that it's Fly, then you guys, then TL. And obviously, it seems, well, I don't know where TL are at necessarily in terms of taking games off FlyQuest. But it seems like, at least to me, like that last series of C9 and Fly, C9 can take games off FlyQuest. It just, the circumstances were not particularly favorable, let's say, in those couple of games. But I mean, yeah,
I just the last 2 times before that we played against them,
so it's proven. But yeah, I mean, at least in this series, I was very, very happy, honestly, with both teams. But with C9, I wouldn't say I was concerned about what the bounce back would look like, but just C9 returning to kind of that little stretch of dominance where things look a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more sharp. We're taking care of, our crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure side lane waves are sorted before our objectives. Generally, objective set was fine. So yeah, I personally looked at that series as probably going to be really heavily C9 favored. I was surprised about the game 3, I suppose comeback is the way to put it, because I feel like TL fucking up that game. I mean, bringing in Umpty for game 3, I think made sense in the context of that series. I don't know if I personally would have made the call, but also it just felt like UG didn't have a lot more to offer per se. And I think listening into one of the interviews, I think they actually just straight up asked Spawn, like, what was the reasoning, and it was a very coachy answer from Spawn, but at the end of the day, it's one that makes sense. Like, hey, like, UG plays XYZ champions, we're losing. Umpty plays these champions, and we feel like these are now going to probably be the priors. Let's bring in Umpty. And it's not necessarily, I'm not trying to bag on Umpty just because I like bagging on Umpty. But it didn't necessarily feel like he had much to do in that game. Like his main job was pressing R on Nocturne to like make APA's life easier and Core JJ's life easier effectively, and piling in on an additional target. So yeah, I think the series went, at least to me, as expected. C9 pretty much, dogged on TL for the first 2 games. I think the Herald call in game 3 was perhaps a little bit sketch, or at least the way that it played out. And then certainly the third dragon, I think letting Impact, and then like Impact kind of sneak up on you from the bottom wave and not necessarily tending to that whilst trying to contest the dragon was perhaps a little bit ill-advised, to say the least. But you already C9 were already down 2 dragons, I want to say. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you can get that 3rd dragon, you put yourself in a position where you feel a little bit less pressured on time. So like everything still made sense inside of the game in terms of the decisions.
It's also a game where it's like you're up 2-0 in the series, and we're giving them a comp that they're very good at. Like, not only are we're playing into a comp that they're good at, and we're stylistically countering their comp with like the Maokai into the Nocturne Aurora in this game. And the idea is that like we're not only are we obviously playing to win that game, we're playing into things that are good for them that are going to be removed, and we're removing some of the champions that we think that they are going to play themselves later on, right? So like if it does go to game 4, taking the Maokai away from Umpty is huge, right? Not only do we get a good Maokai angle into them, we also get a Maokai denied from them for the future games. And then you look at what the game 5 draft is. If you really look at Umpty's champion pool with everything that's out going into that, game 4 draft, with everything that's out, it's like he's going to be essentially forced to pick Sejuani. So if we ban Sejuani there, then he might have nothing to play in the series. Like it might just be completely like fucked for them. So I mean, I think that overall, you have to just take these games for what they are and not get like too like involved in like the like, oh, I mean, if we lose that game, we're still playing a series with an advantage. Like the pace of the series matters, especially in Fearless. It's like I think it's generally harder to reverse sweep in something like Fearless, because normally when a reverse sweep happens, it feels like a team just kind of like cracks the code. They figure out how they want it to draft, and then they just do it for multiple games. And I was actually looking this up. I don't think we've had a reverse sweep in Fearless. Like
across the world.
Yeah, I mean maybe in LCP, but maybe in like real regions.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe in like LCP or ERLs, maybe there has been one, but I can't recall one that's happened so far.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the major regions. Majors. Like no one gets reverse swept because it just feels like. Yeah, I mean, it's just harder to play the same game 3 times, which is kind of what ends up happening a lot of times in reverse sweeps is teams are like, okay, we had like this take on the draft, they make this change, and then they just repeat it, and the enemy team doesn't have the ability to adapt. But now it's like you have to win actually 3 isolated games as opposed to just winning the same game multiple times in a row.
Yeah, because when I think of LCK, I thought it was a reverse sweep attempt by Nongshim, right? Nongshim, they went
and then
down
Genji
0-2 and Genji ended up winning. Yeah, that was the closest I think that we got to a reverse sweep. And then after that, it was just 5 games after 5 games, and then D+ shot the bed. But yeah, you're right. That is interesting because it does feel like it would take not even just like champion pool, but just mentally. It's even more taxing because I can imagine that if you're reverse sweeping in non-Fearless best of 5, at least, okay, I'm back on Azir. I know what the fuck I'm doing, right? Whereas like, okay, how does this champ work and how does it interact with this champ that we haven't played against before and my teammates champs that we also haven't played with before? That would be interesting, and I'll track that one down. Cloud9, get the job done. I want to get your thoughts. Who is your team MVP from this one?
For C9?
Yeah.
I got Loki.
Loki play well?
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
No. That was
I was just going to say like what I was saying was also that was really impressive from Loki is like his communication was like he was locked in. Like Loki was fucking locked in, like, because normally, I mean, the way that our team works is like a lot of the team planning and stuff will go through like Blabber and Vulcan. I mean, jungle support. I mean, this is kind of standard for most teams, right? Like jungle support is going to create a lot of the plan, and then it's based off like, carries to provide information on how strong they are at different points, if they want to be involved in the fight or not, if they like think that them not being involved in the fight will generate more in like a side lane or something. Like you're going to try to, add that stuff in. But Loki was fucking locked in. Like in comms, like he was directed the fucking game. Like he was making the calls like, we take 1 grub and back here. Like take only 1 grub after this. All right, commit at this time, Blabber. Like he was fucking commanding the game. So I respect that a lot because I feel like that's been something that we've been trying to get out of Loki the entire time, because he is somebody who's a rank 1 player, like he's fucking good at the game. Like he is somebody who knows how to win games of League, but it generally just feels like because he's so young compared to the rest of the team, everyone's like mega veterans, and Loki is not only speaking a second language, like he just turned 20. It's his first time playing in tier 1. Like he respects all of his teammates so much that it's like he doesn't want to step on people's toes. And it was nice to see him take that step to be able to be like, I'm the fucking carry. Like I'm the fucking mid laner. Like we're gonna play the game like this,
Yeah. especially after the pros episode where he kind of was getting dunked. He was getting dunked by everyone. Like, I think Quid was the kindest about it. But like everyone else was willing to talk their shit, and he showed up big.
Wait, who was talking? Because I feel like the only mid laner that's close to as good as Loki in the league is Quid. Quad rather. I don't think Quid is like
Quid
as good as Loki.
So Quid was kind about it, but he had himself rated higher than Loki. It was like,
I mean, that's fair. I mean, everyone's gonna do that, but
yeah, I think Loki was 4th. So it was.
People have APA over Loki because that is like fucking insane.
Yeah, that is what they had. Palafox had Quid Loki lower. Like, I'm pretty sure all of them had Loki lower.
We're 6-0 against them this split.
Like Palafox knew where it was. Palafox didn't say like, "Hey, I'm 1 or 3." Like, Palafox knew where he was, but when they were all weighing in on where he was, like, people were impressed with Saint. So
it's such an overrated narrative. Like, people love the narrative, like Saint being the really like ELO held player on that team, but Saint had a lot of really bad games. Like, he had a lot of really bad games. So
yeah,
I mean, he has good mechanics individually at times, but his overall play is definitely not as high as Loki's.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just that Saint's good games are so memorable that it's very easy to forget like the rest. It probably is the best way to put it, right? It's like everyone will probably remember, and he's only on my mind because he just got released from Vitality, but it's like everyone's going to remember the Nico game more than anything from Nisty, than any like small good thing that he did. Everyone's going to remember all the bad. Well, I mean, most of it was bad, but that's a different conversation. But same kind of vein, obviously, with Saint just flipped narrative.
Yeah. And then finally, just from this series, how'd you feel like Yuji did? You know, Yuji's joined real late. He obviously second-ish stint because he was with FlyQuest, obviously with Maryville. He gets thrown on in there, gets pulled out. Not, you know, like, I think Spawn said it best, you just got to do something. But like, what did you make of Yuji?
I think his games were hard to play. And he also, and like, when the game is hard to play, a lot of times you have to do something that is not like textbook in order to find some type of advantage, and it felt like Yuji just wasn't willing to do that. So he looked a little nervous, but yeah, I mean, like, when he's playing the Neferi in game number 1, I mean, he's playing Neferi with a Scion on his team. He has a Talia mid, which Talia mid can play with Neferi, but normally you just want stronger setup in other places so that you can like get this Neferia reset. And I felt like they never really got a fight that was good enough for him to pop off. Like, they had like 1 kill throughout the entire game, because the game was pretty controlled. I would say it's a pretty like slow game, so he wasn't able to find advantage. Also, it's like how the game started. Normally when you play Neferi versus Vi, you want to get ahead in the early game because you're much stronger at level 1, level 2 than Vi is. So it went for this invade on Raptors, which is something that it happened to us versus FlyQuest, right? Inspired got really ahead. Same matchup, Neferi versus Vi. And this time we had much better plan around that, right? So when they invaded, we had our bot lane waiting for him. So he gets chunked out. He loses flash at level 1. Blabber flashes over the ward, and like, he takes the enemy jungle. And honestly, it should have been better for us. Like, Blabber made a smite fight happen on Raptors, which I felt like was unnecessary. I felt like he could have just not created that situation because Neferi was already behind. But the result still ended up being positive because Vi got evenly through the early game versus Neferi. Which is generally a Vi favorite thing. You know, if a Vi gets through the early game versus most junglers, you're going to feel very comfortable. I mean, one of the most susceptible parts of Vi's game is level 1 invades and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was good overall from that respect by us. And I think it made Yuji's game pretty hard to play. Yeah. And when there's not a lot of variance of the games, everything is super tight. Everyone has thumbs up. You're playing a champion like Neferi. It's very hard to find the angles. And I don't think his team really set him up very well to pop off. I think game number 2 was a lot of just like we were just doing things better conceptually than them. Like, when we were starting the objectives, we had control of different areas. You know, we had pinks and locations that we need to have pinks in. We were able to engage on him and one-shot him before he was able to play a lot of the fights. Like, we had a lot of focus on him. And generally, I think we just had a better draft. I think TL, I felt like they got tilted in the second game from watching them. Like, game 1, I felt like they played decently well throughout. It's just like we won small situations and were able to carry that through. But game 2, I felt like they really got tilted. Like, them contesting the second Drake at 18 minutes. I feel like you never want to do that with Smolder. Like, you should be so happy if you get one Drake with Smolder to just continue scaling, and then you'll have your 225 upgrade by the like Soul Fight or by Drake number 3, or Soul Point, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can play with that condition in mind, and they just walked into a fight and fought us. And when I watch it, I think the reasoning is because Blabber actually wasted his flash and ult bot lane. So they thought, oh, well, Skarner has no flash ult, maybe we can fight this now. But they still should just avoid the fight. And when they fight that, they just end up losing. So I would say Yuji did seem nervous, which is understandable. And I think his games weren't easy to play. So there was never a point where like he was able to settle into the series. Like the whole time Yuji was playing, he was feeling uncomfortable, right? The whole time they were playing, he probably felt like he was losing from the first minute that he tries to invade and gets flashed out. Like, and he gets his flash blown and he gets chunked, right? He probably just feels like he's just losing the whole time. So there was never a point where he could actually, like get grounded in the series.
I think a pretty measured take here by Dom, understanding the situation that Yuji was thrown into and the game state that he was thrown into. Just want to get your thoughts there, just because that was it is such a high profile move by one of the top teams here, Jamada.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very hard to be super critical of UG, just because I think if you like sit this series, next to UG's debut, where again, like the early game and like subsequently the second game, the Shopify Rebellion series, like it was so catered around ensuring UG was kind of the game plan, right? That it felt like come the C9 series, even though yes, like the whole like invade, the early invade with the Nefiri thing, was kind of there to try and set him ahead. It's what you'd like to do in the jungle matchup and in isolation. Once it doesn't go kind of smoothly, it's a hard like set of games to play. Like both those drafts aren't easy, and I think when you're also making the holistic mistakes of like you have Smolder, we don't need to fight for a dragon. Like just let Yeon scale, right? And then also thinking about it's like he's playing Xin into like a bunch of champions he doesn't necessarily mind playing into, but he's got not really a whole bunch of like backup either. If it's like not super early game like centric skirmishing, it's very, very difficult to play in my opinion. I think again, kind of like I said earlier when we was touching on like the early series, is that UG still seems to bring less volatility obviously than UMT does on a lot of their game states, right? That's the one thing that seems relatively trackable so far from the 4 or 5 games that we've seen now from UG. And I think that's gonna be very, very profitable, I think, to TL in the run. If
you look at the other games, if you look at the other games they played against us, right? If they, for example, this game 2, if you remember the best of 3, there was this game 2 where we played Lilia into Lucian Milio, or like they picked Lucian Milio to counter it, and then UMT just like did like random pathing, kind of like gave us the game early. And that was part of the reason we were able to get through the game so easily. If that game is played with UG, they just win that game. If they have a better draft, if they like outdraft us in certain aspects there, and they're able to play with UG throughout, they're going to win. Like that's just going to be a game that UG will win you, where like UMT will give you the chance to lose that game. But in the games that we played, we're having a pretty good day. We're pretty controlled. Like these games like didn't have random deaths. We had like one bad isolated death, but not too many bad isolated deaths. When the game is like that, it feels like then you need a player like UMT, and that's part of the reason why I think he was brought in, to create some type of action in the game so that the game is uncomfortable. I mean, UMT is a player that even though he's bad, like everyone knows he's bad, right? He's annoying to play against because he could do something that can win you the game. Like he could do something that can win his team the game. That is not standard, and it's like he could have a stroke of genius,
or a stroke.
And because he's so willing to sacrifice himself, that adds an extra like level to what their team needed. And I think that right now what they're suffering from is because their laners are playing worse. Like Impact is playing worse than he was in summer 2024, where he was like MVP. APA is playing worse relatively to the rest of the league, the other laners in the league, because everyone is kind of playing worse. They can't just deal with a stable jungler. Now it feels like they need UMT in ways, because he's going to add something that will allow their team to get an advantage, because if not, they're going to be generally losing to mainly us and FlyQuest.
Yeah, I love Umpty, by the way. That was too good of a joke to pass up. All right. That was a lot there on the series, on Cloud9 and TL, and of course, the outlook for the Ruddy Sachs big match against Los Ratones for the NLC second seed over at EMEA Masters. Now, before we move on, I wanted to, because we had a really good topic and a call to action to answer, and we got a lot of comments. It was about the Hall of Fame. Remember last week we talked about the Hall of Fame and who you think should be in. And it feels like we're divided into two camps. One is Camp Dom. The other is just playing the game straight up. Camp Dom is, yes, I believe it's just a money ploy. And so, if that's the case, who is the next person that goes in?
Caps,
yeah. I think I said this last week too.
So
it's just the easiest way to print money.
Yep. Yes, but maybe I want to make sure I get his name right because I thought it was a good point. Kungai, 5 days ago, Kungai said, I'm with Dom on the Hall of Fame discussion, right? Showed it's a money ploy, blah, blah. They'll induct who they want. So we'll probably get Reckless next. I think that's a pretty good choice.
Ooh. Can Reckless, does Reckless have more selling power than Cap?
Yes. I think so, especially because of like the stint over at T1. Himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that boy's branded himself for years, man. Like, yeah, Mr. Martin is a bit of a social media demon. Plus, like, he's got pull from
the thing
Korea.
Is, it's just like
he's on Los Ratones right now. Like, I hate it too, bro. I hate it too.
It's too obvious. Then, in my opinion, like the more I think about it, I don't think that they'll do that because like they want to have people that are prestigious, like. And Reckless does have a prestigious career, but like Caps is on a whole fucking different level when it comes to like he is the guy for Europe. I think. I don't think they want to like actually make it look like the most obvious money ploy of all time. No, personally,
and that's why I think they picked. That's why I think they picked Uzi as like in from the camp of where you're coming from, right? Like you want to make it as not obvious as possible. If again, like from the perspective of like we're trying to sell as many skins as possible. Uzi makes probably the most sense. If you don't want to hit like double, like air quotes LCK Legends, because the other like 2 or 3 options in the AD role would have been like what Deft, Ruler, a couple of others maybe I'm missing off the top of my head. So like Uzi hit Chinese market, right? And it's an argument that most people can get behind of like cool. Uzi modernized the ADC role into what a lot of people looked up to it and played it, even if he doesn't have the full case of accolades, right? That some other people do in his role. So yeah, I think realistically, it's probably Caps if they're going full blown money.
If they're going full blown money, then they would just go like. I feel like if they're actually going full blown money, it would be like Guma, right? It would be like that would be like how you just make it like super like we don't give a fuck about optics. We want it to make as much money as possible. Who's the most popular player after Faker right now? It's probably Guma Yushi. Put a Guma Yushi like fucking put it like a Guma Yushi. What are the like cat skin line like where it's like Meowkai and like
Cafe Cuties.
Cafe Cutie, yeah. Have a Cafe Cuties Guma Yushi Zaya skin. Oh my god, bro.
That's pretty
my god. You make so much money.
So
that's how you win.
On that front, someone else, who was it? Someone else said Razzer said if it was just going to be that, it would be Kadril, Gumayushi, and then Zeus. That's a lot of money.
Nah, you can't put Kadril in a Hall of Legends when he's like never made. Like that's like too crazy. I mean, at that point, like you could put like Tyler 1 in the fucking Hall of like Legends.
Brother, you could go in. You could go in there at that point. Like,
Hey, my career was a little bit different than Kadril's career. Like, hey, if you saw my career, my career was a little bit different. You have to put some respect on that shit.
I feel like I got one guy in the comments because we were talking about Uzi, and this person made such a great argument. Lauren Slater said, I rate Uzi very high for many reasons, but the biggest one for me was 2018 spring. ADC was the most broken it might have ever been, hence 8-11 nerfing it hard, and every MVP from the major leagues was the AD carry. Uzi prayed reckless double lift. I love arguments like this because, like, damn, he spit facts. So I went back to check. I was like, was that actually the case? Is that actually what happened? And so I went back and looked. Reckless was the MVP spring 2018. I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked at NA. It was Afro. Afro was the MVP. I was like, okay, well, you
close enough.
Made it up. And then
the lying is fucking OP. Like, honestly, when somebody makes an argument like that, it's like so fucking good.
Okay, wait.
Okay, Uzi was the MVP in spring that year, though, right?
So
right,
over in the LCK, it was wasn't Prey, it was BDD. You know, King's Own Dragon X BDD.
Okay.
Okay, LPL. MCL. He said, he was the MVP of the MVPs. Uzi was 10th in MVP voting. It was Rookie. Rookie was the MVP in 2018 spring.
Yeah, deserved. That guy was an absolute monster.
Man,
that was his world-winning year as well.
Just to check, I looked over at the LMS because it's always great to see LMS as the region title and not anything else.
It was
maybe it was
kind of
Betty
the fifth major region back then,
or anything. Yeah. No, it was PK on G-Rex. Do you remember G-Rex? I was like, damn, that's a
I do remember G-Rex specifically because I did that the Shy video last year, and G-Rex was one of the teams that was there at that World Championship that year. So
yeah. Well, there you go. So I just be careful of your comments. You got to double check. That was a great argument. I was like, damn, maybe all the AD carries were popping off at the time. Maybe
it's so fucking
Lying's too OP. Lying's too OP.
Like Dom, I've had one of your viewers in my chat lately whenever I've been streaming. They've been saying Lying is fucking OP. Like, and especially if you make a lie that's like pre-18, almost no one is around anymore to even fact check.
Yeah, it's like only me.
People
honestly just don't come to my chat and you probably won't get called out.
It's so funny. Like, it's so funny. You have to be unk. Like, you can. It's the only way to even fact check this now.
Best argument here that I saw for going into the Hall of Fame next, if you're trying to treat it legit, was Yahoo, and then listed out 60% win rate, over 60% win rate, MVP for LPL, multiple first team all pros, multiple domestic titles, 3 MSI wins, just not winning worlds, but has 3 top 4 finishes. So I think that's a pretty good one. Yeah, I mean, we had this discussion last time, but just wanted to give the shout out to our commenters because they came. Some with facts and some with fake facts, made up facts.
Nice.
All right, that gets us into some fraudulency. Since we're talking about lying, we had some big liars over in the LEC, and that would be the top seeds. KC and Fnatic both fall in their matches, and now it's time to rate them on the fraudulency scale. It is fraud alert for the LEC. All right, let's start with KC because I think that was the bigger surprise. Like G2 won in the interview. Cap said, man, I really want to play KC. Can't wait to play them. It'll be a lot of fun. And KC don't get the job done. Not Mad Koi, Movistar Koi get the job done and defeat them 3-2. Jamada, what do you rate this on the fraudulency scale?
Man, pretty high. I just want to point out, I can't remember what the segment was. I think it was it Keep or Kick we did last week, where you said, KC or the rest of the field. I just want to say, now, first off, I know eventually I landed on KC, but I just want to make it clear. My original answer was, I don't want to take any of these motherfuckers. Like, if I can,
that was your original answer.
If I could land on the fence, I just say I don't want anyone. This is exactly why, bro. I don't know. This KC, like, from the perspective of KC, this series was just really, really, really disgusting, right? Like, I think, like, Vladdy, like, self-proclaimed, he said it on Twitter afterwards, like, he just had a really, really shitty performance. And I don't necessarily want to be the guy that bags on the rookie, but, like, bro, Kalist, I think you could actually just, like, I need more hands to count how many times he griefed the game state just by himself with positioning, whether it was the Kalista thing on midwave, whether it was like the game 4 on MF, where like that one was a little bit more forgivable when he like face checks into super, and I think it was Yoya in like the Raptor brush, because they just like made a really weird rotation. But there's just so many points in that game where you can just look at individuals and go, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it felt like Kana was the only guy in that series that actually felt like winning on KC's side throughout that entire series. It was just really weird. I don't know how else to put it other than like cool underperformance from KC. Like, you can have a shit series every now and again. You're allowed to. I've not like, if you just watch the tape from the best of threes in regular season, right? Like, KC have looked shaky in so many of their wins. Like, they have not been a convincing team to me. Like, they've won, they've got the job done, but yeah, I was not particularly pleased coming into playoffs, and I think this series is like a culmination of that. I think realistically it could have gone either way. Like, bro, Koi were like, this was just a shit sling competition all 5 games, to just, if we're being honest about it. But I think that KC had enough winning game states where, like, if we're just being honest, like, this should have been a series that they won like 4-1, like, in terms of where they actually sat in a lot of these games. So yeah, fraudulency wise, it's high, man. It's really high. Well, it kind of depends on your expectations of KC, I suppose, coming in. But this is like, I picked him. You forced me. You forced my hand, dGon.
You could have picked the rest of the field like I did. Yeah,
yeah, I guess. This is like an 8. Like, to me, this is a series that they had full agency over in winning, and actively chose on multiple occasions, whether it was objectives they didn't need to fight, whether it was like, I don't even think their drafts were like horrid or like bad by any means. If anything, I think MKOI walked into a lot of like draft scenarios that they didn't necessarily have to make games harder, and somehow they still managed to win. I'm looking at, I think game 3 in particular was one where I felt like they probably should have just not gotten away with that, but they ended up getting away with it. So yeah, I'm giving this like an 8. Again, I've not been super hot on KC. I've not been super hot on the whole top half of the LEC, to be honest with you. It's felt like a massive circle of suck that realistically anyone could be anyone. It just seemed like for the time being, KC had been getting the better end of the results and the stick. But this time they drew short, and this is the result. They're now in the lower bracket.
That's right.
And they're probably going to have to play Fnatic. But yeah.
Jamada saying KC got the better end of the suck. 8 out of 10. Dom, you with the quickness said, I picked the field. Where do you rate this one in terms of fraudulency?
It's like a 6 or a 7 for me, because the thing is that, like, if you look at what they actually drafted, they were drafting as if they believed in what they were playing during the split, where I kind of view the split as like they're trying to, change their gameplay. They're trying to incorporate things like the Silas. They want to play more aggressive comps, but it just feels like they still have not mastered the style. It feels like they're not able to actually play that style well. And when they got forced onto it, it didn't seem like they were able to execute. I mean, they weren't really forced onto it. When they chose to do this in games, it felt like they're still not good enough to pull it off. So for me, it's like, I guess I'll give them like a 6, because I just didn't think they were that insane to begin with. Like, I wasn't super high on them. That's why I chose the field. So I feel like it wouldn't be fair for me to then pretend like this was like a massive shock. Like, to me, it's not a massive shock. It's just it's not that good. Like, they are getting pretty overrated from essentially one series win against G2. I mean, their first stand run, they beat a PCS team in a best of 5, and they beat Top Esports in a best of 3, and they lost to everyone else. Right? Like, that's what their first stand was, and that somehow gave them like immense respect within the league. If you were watching a lot of their games, like for example, the Heretic series they played, like they've had a lot of series where they looked off. I mean, people have been flaming Yikes Vi all the time. People have been just criticizing their level of play in general. So like, I don't think that this should be some massive like shock where, oh shit, like they're actually not the best team in LEC. I've noticed this a little bit with FlyQuest domestically in the LTA. I feel like these teams that come through and they've won like one split end up getting kind of like massively overhyped. So, like, people make it seem like K-Corp had a dynasty or something when you hear them talk about K-Corp. Like, they're the kings of the LEC. for like a while now or something like this, where that's not the case, right? Like they haven't had like a insane run or anything like super crazy. They won one split. They had a very good series versus G2, but they're not like the kings of the LEC the way G2 was for years.
I think with Europe though, just kind of at least reading the room from my perspective, it's just people want a new team to be the best team, right? Like it's been G2 for so long, right? And I think just like whether it's talk to fans or talk to people like from the LEC, it's just the excitement of holy shit, G2 might not be the best team like right now, and we could have a little bit of volatility inside the league. And hey, you know, like Fnatic should be good. KC obviously won in winter. G2 are going through some shit. Hey, like maybe Movistar Koi, like the spirit of mad infests them and they do some bullshit. But that's where I think a lot of that narrative kind of comes from, and the strong like kind of community narrative is built from. And I think also from a broadcast side, you have to build up your champion, right? I think it's kind of natural, and I think depending on how what's the word I'm looking for here, like how honestly you do it, you know, I think the broader narrative changes, and then also you have like co-streamers. I don't watch a whole bunch of Kadriel. I don't know what Kadriel's been saying about KC, but I'm sure Kadriel might have like a whole bunch of influence over what people think about KC as an example, right? Like that's just like an evolving thing inside the community as a whole. Like from our perspective as like analysts, pundits, etc., we're usually going to have more like direct, straight down the narrow path takes when it comes to teams like these. But yeah, like I said, from day dot, not been impressed with KC this split. And yeah, I think like they have been overhyped from that G2 series, but it made sense, right? Like G2 finally, how many fucking titles did G2 win in a row?
Four,
right? Like it was
all of last year.
It was all of last year. I think they were on like a
they won 6 in a row.
They was I was gonna say it was either 6 or 7 you know, split streak in a row. People are going to get excited by it, right? And obviously it's always frustrating for people like us, where we watch a bunch of the tape, we know what's good, but then you have to like almost like verbally fight people on repeat. It's also very easy to get one guide, I feel like, too, when you're in this kind of position. But yeah,
I will say, you know, when Kalist came out and was popping off like that, that was very impressive. It was impressive to watch. It was very different. Hansama has been, you know, not as impressive. So I will give them that. Let's move forward to Fnatic and G2. So Fnatic, they dropped the ball. They don't get it done. And it was in a 3-1 fashion. Do they lose despite a massive caps stinker, I'd say, you know, in that game 3 on Annie. G2 still get the job done. Despite everything that's happened to them, they get the job done and then eventually go on and punch their ticket to MSI. What did you make of the performance there by Fnatic? Jamada, you start first.
Sure. Honestly, it's hard to say I'm disappointed. I really want to talk about this series from the perspective of G2 just because, but I think for Fnatic, Humanoid getting like raw dogged in basically every single laning phase. I don't think there was a laning phase where he came out ahead. I'd love to be corrected, but I think at the very least 3 out of 4 of those games, Humanoid was just getting diffed by caps, and I think it was very fortunate that at the very least in game 1, like the one game that they were able to win, they like caught caps napping at like Gromp or Blue Buff, like in between as he was basing. And that like one pick, and I think it also let them kill off someone else, but I can't recall who it was in that same sequence. Like put them back in the game. They were able to get like bot lane tier 1 off of it, and it actually just put a Humanoid on the map as a champ. And then from there, like the game was just very, very difficult for G2 to play because the draft from Fnatic was very, very standard. It was just Vi Rumble, Rel with Azir. It's pretty much just kill target in front of you. There's not a lot of thought that has to go into it. But beyond that, honestly, it was just like individual diff from start to finish for me. whether it was, Broken Blade taking over team fights later on, whether it was, Humanoid getting outlaned, it just felt like Fnatic weren't really there to win it. And even like you think the game 3, I think the game 3 was probably the biggest sin because they had such a large lead with the Kalista Taric. I thought that the Hui was like a monster pick, and they still managed to fuck up the game state just by getting out macroed by G2 a bunch of times. And if it wasn't for, the God, what did it was it Caps, I think was the stinker of that game.
1 in 5.
He, like 1 in 5, I think, got caught off like around Baron, and if that didn't happen, like it would have been a completely different game. So I don't know. I just it's hard to be very happy about this series for that, obviously, because they lost. But I don't know. I think when we were talking about the field, going back to that topic from last week, we kind of touched on, would G2 do the funny playoffs, haha, G2 are back thing? And it feels like they did in some ways. So it makes me almost want to be a little bit lenient on Fnatic. But if we're kind of holding them to, top 2 standard, as I think that we should be going into playoffs, fraudulency wise, I don't know. This is at least a 7.5. Like I put it in the same, very close to the same category here as KC.
What'd you make, Dom?
Yeah, it was pretty fraudulent, but it's like more expected, And I would say that it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, I'm just such a Humanoid hater. When I watch him play, I'm just like, you are just fucking bad. Like his first, just even the way the series opens. Just imagine you're playing the series, you're like prepped, you go in, game number 1, even though Fnatic ended up winning that game, like you just watch your fucking mid laner play a Azir versus Akali and just be down 15 CS in lane. Like when you're watching this, like as a player in the game, you're like, how is this possible? How can you just be down this much CS? Just no one visited the lane. Like you're supposed to just push. It should be very easy for you. And he's not able to do it. So I don't know. I'm watching a lot of these situations, and it just makes me feel like, Humanoid he's just so gapped by Caps. Caps is just his father. Just is what it is, man. Have to accept it sometimes.
What do you rate the fraudulency?
Fraudulency for me here, I would say it's like okay, so they're actually like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 frauds, but they're like so obviously fraudulent that it's like, are they really fraudulent when it's like expected fraudulency? Like I don't even know if I can call it that because I expected them to be fraudulent. So normally, like when I'm talking about frauds, I'm like, "Ooh, that was worse than I expected." But this was just like, this is what everyone expected. See them run in, you're like, "Yep, this is what's gonna happen." Happens, is what it is.
All right. Well, there you go. There are your fraudulency scales for both EU top seeds being surprised there. And again, G2 back on top, at least punching their ticket to MSI as they defeated Movistar Koi. Congrats, making it back to MSI. All right. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the EU performances. I'll give you a shout out next week. Now, now's the time where we get to introduce you to not only a partner of ours, but a new partner of ours here on Power Spike. And it's our friends over at Wooting. That's right. The Wooting keyboard Wooting. They have joined us here on Power Spike and across Last Free Nation. We're super excited to have them join us here and give us an offer that helps you guys over at home. Now, Wooting, if you haven't heard of it before, create the keyboards that give you a competitive advantage where you can change keys actuation. So it's how much pressure you need to push onto the keys to make it move. Maybe you've heard about the crisp movement across FPS in League of Legends or MOBAs. You could go ahead and change the actuation for your QWER, maybe turn it higher for your summoner spell so you don't accidentally flash. Everyone fucking hates when you do that. No worries here. Got you covered. It's really easy to do as well because you don't necessarily have to download the drivers. You go onto the Wooting website and they have the utility app there called Wootility, and you can input all of the customization that you would on your keyboard online. So if you bring your keyboard to like a LAN or something like that, and you're like, oh, I have to download my settings. Nope, you can go online and set those things according to your profile, or just do it straight on up. It is super cool, super easy. I've enjoyed being able to make the shift on over to Wooting, and now you all at home have the opportunity to as well. Head on over to wooting.io, that's WOOTING.io, and use the code SPIKE. And the first 250 customers will also receive a free Wooting Uwu at the order of any Wooting keyboard. Now, this is the customizable 3-key I guess side piece that you can use it. They said earlier you could use it for like rhythm games. Jamada uses it for changing customizations within his different scenes, and it is just a huge game changer to have Wooting here. Just share some of your thoughts on using Wooting here, Jamada.
Oh, he's muted.
Right, you're muted.
We need a muting microphone.
Perfect, Adrian. No, yeah, I need the muting microphone that's gonna unmute when I talk. Yeah, like I've had the keyboard now for a little while. This one it is the nicest keyboard I have used. The accessory, like I said, little Uwu, is perfect for me for just a mini little hotkey scene swapper. So yeah, this thing has been lovely. I've been playing League on it. I've been playing FPSs on it.
Helldivers.
Everything feels smooth. Helldivers, yeah, as well. Yeah, fantastic product. I can't recommend it enough, honestly.
Yeah, all the keycaps customizable with the Cherry MX stem mounts, and it has an unrivaled 4-year warranty. Think about how quick you go through keyboards. 4-year warranty and a 30-day no questions asked return policy. So head on over to wooting.io, use the code SPIKE, and the first 250 customers will receive the customizable Uwu with the order of any Wooting keyboard. I got the full because I like having my number pad in there. You can get any one of those. Use the code SPIKE. Help support the show while we go ahead and support you guys. Thanks again to our friends over at Wooting. And just behind the curtains, it's been great with everyone supporting the show. It has done wonders for us here, specifically on Power Spike. So thank you again to all the fans that have been supporting us throughout. We really appreciate it. All right. Time for a little high key, low key, no key, and we're moving to the LCK. And at first, it was just going to be the race for the Legends Group because we got those 3 teams: D+, Nongshim, KT. But let's throw in Hanwha and T1 as well because they're battling for the 2nd seed, which, you know, maybe if Gen G have a bad day, maybe they get exposed in best of 5s, they could book their ticket directly to MSI and not have to sweat and worry about it in the gauntlet because we've got 3 top tier teams, but you know, who knows what might happen. So let's go in high key, low key, no key. It's the LCK. Everyone except the bad teams and Gen G. All right. So D+, Nongshim, KT, 2 can make it in, 1 will get knocked out. And then Hanwha and T1. They play each other at the beginning of the week. So let's do 2 separate high key, low key, no key. So Dom, who do you think is the best going into the Legends Group battle for D+, Nongshim, and KT? High key, low key, no key. Who's 1, 2, 3?
So I think going into it, I actually think that that KT is the best out of them right now. Like, I feel like they're just playing the most solid League of Legends. I know it's always like kind of scary to ever like hope for KT to do well, but I actually feel like they are the most solid team. There's some aspects of their game they don't like they really like Nidalee for cuz. I don't know, like I feel like it's something where he just shouldn't be the guy playing Nidalee. Like, he's fine at it, but he's not Canyon, and I think the champion is kind of ass. But overall, like, BDD is having one of the better seasons in LCK right now. Like, I would have him top 3 going into like all pro. I think he's been a top 3 mid laner in the league. I think you can even argue top 2, like maybe with Zika falling off a bit. Like, and Zika's had some pretty bad games. Maybe BDD has even eclipsed him over the course of the entire season. So I think that KT is probably the best out of these teams. My low key would be Nongshim. Like, I think Nongshim, they're okay. They have good games. They have really fucking bad games. They still feel like a team, but they're probably like the worst out of these teams technically, but they punch up in terms of just like the fact that they are still a unit. Like, they play the game together, which is really important. And Damwon, I don't care if they beat Hanwha Life. I am no key on Damwon. I think they'll probably end up, like, if I were to predict it, I think Nongshim's probably going to be the one that falls. But I just hate watching Damwon play. I feel like Damwon is so much worse than they should be right now, that it's very difficult to enjoy their games at all. Like, I don't feel like there is much structure to the way they play. I feel like they had a very cool thing going on earlier in the year where Lucid would play like a lot of these carry junglers and they would play around him, and he'd be able to like get them advantages. I feel like that's almost completely gone. Like, I never see them really get big advantages off what Lucid is doing. Like, obviously the Hanwha Life series is an exception, but recently it just looks like the team is really uncoordinated. And I'm just so tired of watching Beryl, man. I think Beryl is so like unbelievably bad. It's crazy to watch him play. Like, he just runs it down so frequently. And it's like him having like one good game against the top team every like 4 weeks is not enough for me to just like unwrite all of his sins that he does consistently throughout the regular season. So yeah, that would be my high key Loki Noki.
I just appreciate that. You've been on the you're on the pace. You're on the track with all the takes. You got all of them right, in my opinion. All right, Jamada, what do you got?
So yeah, I'm high key on KT too. I've been enjoying watching KT lately. I think BDD has been like very, very solid to watch, and just generally out of this little clump of teams, they feel the most consistent. Like, I feel like, weirdly enough, it feels almost strange to talk about KT like this, but you kind of know what you're going to get in comparison to a Nongshim or a DK right now, which kind of just helps make this a very easy choice. In an attempt to not, because I kind of have the same opinion here as Dom, but I'll take a different angle for the Loki. I'll take DK for Loki, even though I really don't want to. I think that HLE series hopefully is a small wake up in, guys, maybe we need to go back to doing roughly what we were doing in winter in Split 1, and this can be our way to salvation, our way back to like good standing again, looking like a consistent inside that top 4 breadth of teams. Excuse me, because yeah, obviously they have been shit for a long time. Like, they went through that run of schedule, which was like admittedly very tough, where it was basically like the entire top 4 and then like Nongshim like slammed somewhere in the middle, like back,
because they had the wraparound. They played the tough teams at the end of round 1 and then again in round 2, and then they had the I think a bro loss or something like that. I forgot what it was.
That was the one that made it look really bad. But it's also the way that they lost was like kind of like ridiculous. Like, the way that they would lose these games is like you're losing an early game fight to fucking Wukong as like Lilia. Like, that's how we're like losing this whole game. Like, how the fuck is this even possible? Like, it was just very confusing to watch.
Yeah, so there is still a lot of bad shit going on. I think we could all bag on Beryl for a very long time. Siwoo's obviously been kind of inconsistent in comparison to Split 1-2, which has like sucked to see, because he was very, very fun to watch in winter by comparison. So I hope that they can find a more, I think, consistent set of champions where he feels comfortable to really take over games and carry. But I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, look, tough runner schedule. It's easy to go cold on this team. Beryl makes it a hard team to love right now. But they still have a lot of components that will make, this DK, that makes this DK team tick. And I think if Showmaker goes back to more facilitating picks for this team for the time being, I think that will also probably help band-aid some of the issues that they have. So yeah, I'm low key. I'll go low key here on DK. And I feel like I'm getting, well, because to a point, like changing my answer here, almost one guide by one game and one draft. Nongshim are going in my no key. I think dGon. You know what game I'm going to bring up? The game 3 versus KT and for against KT. Sorry, for Nongshim, where they blinded Zaya and then they blinded Braum back to back.
Yeah, that was
and then get Jinx. That was fucking horrendous. To the point where they're earning my Noki for that. Yeah, it was like, yo, guys, let's draft Viego with no ability to start fights to actually try and get the first reset going. And that entire thing
Viego,
for me,
Orianna, Braum, Zaya, FF.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome, bro. Like that entire thing for me, plus like the general volatility of this team, right? They've been very hard to really get a gauge on for a little while now. Against Genji Hanwha, they got relatively slapped around, to be polite about it. And then the rest of the field, they're kind of just going 3 games pretty much every single series.
Even my
and
bros.
they dropped to fucking even to bros. They dropped their DNF series as well a few weeks ago, which feels like DNF should be like, you know how like normally you talk about a team like Genji and it's like, yeah, you gotta pay the Genji tax. I always refer to teams like DNF that are like really struggling as like the what's the word? The tax relief. Like they're the tax relief team and they lost to the tax relief team. So
the subsidy, the DNF subsidy.
The subsidy, the repayout. So yeah, for me, Nongshim, I just think if, you know, to me, if Lehens isn't like carrying Gideon plus then like collectively this whole setup, and like Kingen can't do all of the heavy lifting here, and Jiwoo's not on form, and Jiwoo's not been on form for a little while, then yeah, like life is not gonna look good for this Nongshim team. I can't recall what dGon, because I tried to find out, and I'm not sure if it was performance related. Was there a reason why Vital was playing in that KT series, or did they just
that was like, performance?
Were
related.
they just trying things? Was that because I didn't think that Vital like played bad or anything. But to me, it just didn't seem like a change that was ever gonna solve like issues holistically for this team either.
Jiwoo was the worst player on that team, even when they swapped out Fisher for Calyx. We're like, okay, he was the best player last year. He's the player you're building around, and he was the worst player. So then you're like, okay, maybe just some confidence issues. And for context, this Challengers week, Lehens and Jiwoo are both playing Challengers so that they get matches in for LCK this week, since it's such an important, it's going to direct the rest of their year. So yeah, I mean, it feels like maybe it's a confidence thing, and it's like, all right, Jiwoo, go down there and stomp some guys. And yesterday's match between B and K Fearx, it was like, okay, Vikla is down there. Clear was down there. Willer was the starting jungler last year. He was down there. You had like kind of like this LCK team and Challengers play against each other. But yeah, that was, I'm not sure what the Vital thing ended up being, but they end up going back to Jiwoo to get the job done against the bros. All right, so that's one of them. And for, I guess, record's sake, I have D+ making it out. I just can't trust the KT team. I don't think they're that good. I think they're gonna get caught at the wrong time.
But I feel like they have. Wait, what is the strength of schedule? Because that really matters.
They have the harder schedule. Like also Nongshim have the harder schedule. D+ play, I think, like DNF, and then they play Nongshim. So they have like straight up.
Oh shit! So it's just gonna be Dom1 versus Nongshim essentially.
Yeah. It is. You were like, hey, what matches are bangers? It's like, it's not a banger because it's good. It's a banger because this is the stakes for the rest of the year, and it'll be there. So, that was one part of high key, low key, no key. Now, part 2 is just high key or no key. Actually, you can put them wherever you want. T1 and Hanwha. Now, Hanwha on a multi-game losing streak for the first time of the season. They dropped the big match up against Genji earlier this week, and then they lose to D+, give D+ his hope in this whole mess here that we've seen. T1, they're on a streak. They've looked good. They took care of business against DN Automotive Freaks. Maybe they did it the fun way in game number 2, but they're on a winning streak. Guma wins his first POM of the year. Literally sound like people were dying in Lowell Park when that got announced because the screams, man, the screams were insane inside the stadium, in the lobby. It was like I'll try. It was like it wasn't like yeah. It was like it was like crazy.
What I've heard is like it actually sounds like somebody's dying. Like when you hear these screams, like it is like a full like panic induced like it's like what the fuck like
that's
like is somebody getting stabbed in the audience? It's like no, Guma just won player of the match, obviously. Like it's okay, I guess, man. Like I guess
should have known.
Shit is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
but he did play well. He did play well. You could have gone anywhere else. The team just looks in form, which sets us up for the first match of, or I guess it's the second match of the week. Second match of the week, but day number 1. It is Hanwha. It is T1 for that potential second place slot. Are you high key or low key or no key on these two teams as the number 2 seed? Go ahead, Jamada.
I think, as much as I hate to say it, T1 are probably going to beat Hanwha. Which makes me very, very sad. Just because of how T1 have looked throughout this whole year. But I feel like they have just about gotten their shit together enough. And Hanwha just look off. Right? It's hard. It's hard to me because I feel like Hanwha, again, like throughout this year, fantastic. They just look right now a little lost in draft, a little lost on the map. It feels like they're not as disciplined as they usually are. I think they need to go back to what made them look like a better team last year and throughout like winter, where it's just like give Peanut like no more like pseudo carries, right? For Peanut for the time being. Put him in Sejuani, Vi jail, and just play like that, right? Just play the simple shit. But on the opposite side with T1, I think for the most part now, as we were kind of calling out, not to dive back into the fucking Smash Guma debate, but it's like you have to make someone a carry for the time being, right? Make that guy be owner. Let him sit mostly on carries. Give him like carry priority in draft a lot of the time. And since Guma's been back in, and they've been like on this rebuild of identity and form, Guma's rarely touched tanks, right? Like he had 2 Skarner games lately, and that's kind of been it. Like otherwise, it's on owner. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So owner's only really had those couple of tank games, and it feels like T1 identity-wise are kind of solved, and everyone is playing well again. So I just think from a momentum perspective, T1 look a little bit more favorable to me. Do I think Hanwha should win? Yes. Do I think they're going to win? I think we're going to get the fucking turnaround of the fucking year so far in expectations, unfortunately. Which, again, I hate that I'm saying it. I've just got this pit in my stomach, which is just unfortunately eating me up, which is making me feel like this is what's the result's going to end up being. There is obviously still, the series afterwards, which I feel like in the case of Hanwha, they should walk over BFX, right? Like, so they like will have that in their pocket. Whereas I feel like for T1, like there's room for them to lose to Nongshim still. Like I feel like that is like a possibility. So we'll see where that leaves them in the standings afterwards. But T1 HLE happening tomorrow. I'm spooked for Hanwha. I feel like their draft priorities have been weird. I think some teams are doing it, some teams aren't. Like going back to Kasante in like weird spots where I'm just not rating the champion. It's just providing a lot of freedom for whoever the hell's on the opposite side of that matchup. Things have changed in the meta up there for the time being. So yeah, I'm not really rocking with HLE. They just look too off, and I think T1 are mostly feeling comfortable with draft priorities, how they want to play, who they want to give resources to, and just seem a little bit more consistent in just understanding what kind of team they want to be right now.
Oraclon in the chat bringing up a good point. Zeus won't allow Hanwha Life to lose to T1. He is 2-0. 2-0 against T1. Has not lost to them yet. Dom, what is your take here? Is it the T1 comeback? The T1 turnaround?
I mean, it depends. Like, how are we doing it? How are we doing it is my question. Like, are we doing it as like
second place seed? It's just second place seed.
Second place seed. Okay, so second place seed. If we're just doing it purely off second place seed, then I think Hanwha Life is going to do it because Hanwha Life doesn't need to beat T1 in order to actually get second place. They have enough of like a game advantage where they can, if they go like 1-2 and then they both 2-0 the other teams, then Hanwha Life ends up getting the spot because they have like the game score advantage, right? They'll be even in series. So I will go for I'll go Hanwha Life gets the second seed. Not because I think that they're like good right now, just because I think that the advantage that they've built up in score helps them make it out on top.
Yeah. Hanwha have a if T1 2-0 them, they're tied. Yeah. They're just straight up tied, which is kind of crazy, but it would need
Wait, so how does it work? Wow, the tiebreaker is it second half ends up mattering? Like what is the tiebreaker? It's game score, then it's match score, then game score, then it's like who had more wins in the second half, or how does it work?
We got to pull out the rule book.
Yeah, I got to pull out the rule book. I'm not sure. Like straight up, I'm not sure.
Weird with
the rule book is written in Korean. I looked it up.
Yeah, it is. I mean that's why I couldn't. But I remember it being something like it was like game score, match score, and then it was like
game score, match score, head to head, and then it was this thing, and I can't remember. They
so
translated when we go to work this week.
Okay, so it's match score, game score, and then head to head would be even. So in this situation, all those would be even, and then if all of those were even, then T1 would get the advantage because they have a better record in the second half of the split. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I mean, T1 bad. They obviously didn't draw it up that way, but if it happened that way, that's just the T1 magic.
Fucking T1 magic.
This is what happens, man. This is what happens every time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it looks like Hanwha Life is just like really not locked in when you watch them play. Like it doesn't even feel like it doesn't feel like T1's necessarily like. I mean, they've gotten more solid, but I still feel like all the problems that they had before, where it comes to like drafting and how they play the game, like they all exist. But the main thing that I've been noticing is just the fact that Hanwha Life just feel like they don't have the confidence they did before. Like it felt like before they would just go into every game and they thought every game was going to be winnable. You know, like every game we're going to find a way to win. They would just be really creative in their approach. And now it feels like there's like a little bit of playing not to lose going on. So not sure how to feel about that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dom weighed in here. It is going to be a Hanwha holding it, but a 2-0 will turn everything on its head. Who knows? All right. That was high key, low key, no key. Let us know who you think is going to make it into the Legends group and who will take that second seed and get to play that qualifying match against Gen G in Busan, skip all of the gauntlet, and then have the qualifying match against the third place team if Gen G end up losing. All right. Well, now it's time to remind you about one of our friends before we close out the show. We got one more segment as we go into the LPL. It's time to remind you about our friends over at Into the AM. Into the AM is having their Memorial Day sale where they have items up to 70% off. You can get an extra 10% off, as always, using our code intotheam.com/LFN. I'm wearing the very comfortable t-shirt that I normally do. I also wear the bomber. You've seen me wear it on the broadcast. Also, I showed off the shorts literally yesterday on the Monty and Wolf show. Let's see. I got a new pair of pants. Can't wait to wear those for golfing. They've got all different types of clothes, jackets, bombers, hoodies, sweaters, zip-ups, khakis, workout shorts. They got you covered. They've been such a great partner here. And if you're thinking about getting new clothes, they ship almost everywhere. Head on over to intotheam.com/LFN to get 10% off your additional 10% off the current sales that they have right now. It's a great way to refresh. They've got you covered. You'll look good. Thanks to our friends over at Into the AM. That's intotheam.com/LFN Legends. All right, time for the Galaxy Brain Club. I guess it is playoffs, right? The play-ins are considered parts of playoffs here, Dom, for the LPL? It is, right?
Not technically.
Oh no, it's not.
Not
It's its own
technically.
thing. It's part of the group stage.
It's like on top. Well, I mean, it's just like on top of the play. I just play-ins. So
Okay. So play-ins kicked off and are finished. And we're going to dive into that, plus the playoffs here in our Galaxy Brain Club as we move towards the LPL. LPL just finished their play-ins. No surprises here, Dom. So just want to get your thoughts on all 4 matches that happened this week where the higher rated team went on through. The closest match was the it's not 5-4, was it 8-9, I guess is the FPX IP one, or IG one. So go ahead. What did you make of these series? And can we learn anything from it?
I mean, I think it just showed how much difference there were between the upper group and the lower group in terms of like just quality of play. Like WE went from being kind of close to LGD to just being significantly better now, right? Like they're just a much better team than they were before. So I think it just shows like how much improvement you gain from playing a format where you are competing this often and you're just like forced to play so many matches. Like the Nirvana teams, to remind everyone, only played 5 best of 3s, and they play against also shit teams because they're obviously playing in the Nirvana group. And then on the other side of things, you have the Ascend group where you play 18 best of 3s and you're playing versus quality opponents, right? And how much this leveled up their gameplay. So yeah, I thought it was definitely nice to watch, see the differences between the teams. And I think the best 4 teams came out of it. So, I mean, there's not much to complain about there for me.
Jamada, what'd you make of this week for the LPL?
No, like even small complaints for me, really. I unfortunately didn't get to catch Weibo TT today because I was napping.
Didn't need to.
I was up. And it seems like I really didn't need to. But yeah, I think just another like small part is just like the format really just is really OP. If you're in that top, like if you're like a air quotes middling team, but you squeeze into that top Ascend group, it is just like a hyperbolic time chamber for you, right? Like realistically, would WE have been anywhere near as good if they managed to, like, if they didn't manage to make it into that top 10 and they played 5 best ofs in the better part of a month and a half on stage? Probably not, right?
I get shittier scrims too, like.
Like the access to scrims, like everything just like sucks. So I think the moral of the story really just is playing more stage games seems to, at the very like bare minimum, allow you to develop more. Shock horror. Who would have thought of that? So yeah, the play-ins went, all the higher seeds won. I will say it's kind of depending on your angle. It's sad that NIP didn't make it in, but also I feel like for FPX it's just like nice organizationally from a like more like broader narrative standpoint to see them kind of in playoffs, because I think could have been very easy for them to slip back out into like kind of obscurity again, like they have been for a little while, in terms of just not really making much of an impact whenever they do hit playoffs. So hopefully, I mean, they're against top esports. Top esports has obviously been very, very good. But who knows? Maybe they do some weird shit. Maybe top esports do a weird random domestic choke and land in losers bracket in round 1. But I kind of don't see that. Play-ins went as they should have.
Okay, all right. So now that we've got through our play-ins, we said our goodbyes to the I guess Do and Be reunion tour and other feel good stories that didn't make it to playoffs. Let's look at that bracket stage. Top versus FPX, BLG versus IG, Anyone's Legends versus WE, and JDG versus Weibo. When you look at these matches, Dom, which one jumps out at you the most, or which ones jump out at you the most as the most exciting and the most sleeper?
So I think the most exciting should end up being, okay, in terms of like fun, FPX top esports, I think will be a banger just because FPX is like, they're fun. It's either that or WE. I mean, WE is pretty fun to watch right now. In terms of like most sleeper, I just think that it's hard to say because JDG's form is so inconsistent, but I feel like Weibo is just playing so bad right now. It's really hard to rate them at all. Like every time I watch them play, I'm just like, Yeah, they're just fucking like even today they just don't look like themselves. They just don't look good at all. So very hard for me to rate them highly. But yeah, overall I would say that most exciting probably top esports FPX, and then most sleeper JDG Weibo.
What do you got here, Jamada?
Interesting. I actually think that JDG Weibo has the most potential to just randomly be a banger because, like Dom said, Weibo kind of just they still look shit. that has not changed. Whereas with JDG, some days you get them on really really great form, and then other days like not so bad. If we get JDG on a bad day and Weibo are just existing as Weibo, that is like a guaranteed 5-game banger where it's just stupid shit slinging, fun chaos to watch. Like the macro is going to be at a bare minimum. Shun and Tien are going to be fucking like fist fighting in the jungle perma. Like I actually think that like top to bottom, all of these lanes will probably just be very dead even, and it's just going to be about fist fighting on objectives perma. So I weirdly kind of with the same like beginning, I just come to a different conclusion. I think JDG Weibo probably ends up being the most fun to watch here. To me, realistically, I think that top esports FPX, like again, kind of similarly to if you were watching KC tape, like top esports have looked weird in a lot of their best of threes, right? And I think that does breathe room for like oddities to occur in a best of 5. Like I don't think it's impossible for FPX to take games off top esports just based on how they've been playing, and their overall just kind of lack of like consistency game to game, but like getting the job done is like kind of top esports' mantra right now. But I would say the sleeper to me, I think the sleeper's probably gonna end up being ALWE. I don't know. I'm just not I've been big-ish on WE, right? But I do feel like AL will just come in a little bit more heavily prepped and sweep WE. Like very aggressively 3-0. Like if I'm on production, I'm happy that day's over, like ASAP. Or I guess they're doing the double best of 5s that weekend, right? So we get to the next series or we get an early night. Like that is how I really feel about that series. So yeah, I'm looking at Weibo JDG as like being the mega banger weirdly, and ALW as being the sleeper series.
So two things here. One, Dom, I'm interested in when do you let go of history of top, or I guess, like it's domestic top, right? Domestic top esports compared to, international top esports. But when do you let go of international top esports and then go back to being like, all right, well, I guess top is the best in LPL? Like when does that lever change? I'm not criticizing that because I understand, but just where is that for you?
I mean, well, I think just simply right now, if you've been watching them play, like they haven't even been the best team in LPL in recent weeks. Like BLG took them out, and they look just better than them in the series, which is one thing that I'm like kind of rating heavily here. So yeah, for me, I think that it just comes down to like how well they're actually playing, and to me, they just didn't look like they were playing that well recently. I mean, they haven't had like an insane split. Even though they had an insane record, they would get the job done. Like their games do not look clean. They're not confidence-inspiring games generally. So when I'm watching that, I just don't feel like they are improving really, and I feel like other teams are, and that's why I think that they're not going to end up like being the champions of LPL this split.
Okay, and then the other thing that I had here was neither one of you talked about BLG IG. Why is that?
Yeah, I was about to say I do want to give it an honorable mention for Banger. Yeah, both these teams have like such is the story for so many fucking teams right now. IG will randomly show up on a day and look incredible, and then other days they look horrendous. And BLG, I think, have generally been trending better, but they are still a far cry from the BLG of the last 2 years. I don't really know who I'd like. I think will BLG probably win the series? Yes. But I say that very, very apprehensively because I don't feel like it's below BLG to like come in and maybe go back to drafting like complete like dog shit where they're kind of weak siding bin or like giving Elkin on like a really hard 2v2 matchup and not really like doing anything about it on the other side of the map or through mid jungle or whatever it may be. I feel like the inconsistency of like their game plan via draft has been one of their like kind of downsides as a team, as well as just like I still have that sequence imprinted on my brain from the JDG series about under 2 weeks ago, I want to say, where they had like, what was it, a 3.5, 4K gold lead, and it's like they threw it at Dragon, third Dragon or fourth Dragon, and then they got caught on mid. Bin got caught on mid, and they lost like 2 towers off that, and they just lost complete control of the game, and they ended up just getting rolled over and 2-0'd. So it is not below BLG to just do random shit that fucks up their game state, and they don't get to play anymore. Whether it be because of draft or like decisions that they actively opt into. So yeah, it's like my honorable mention banger. I still feel like JDG Weibo has more shit slinging potential. And also it's just funny thinking about like the history more than anything. Obviously it's like not a now thing, but like Weibo always just like makes JDG's life hard. Like that has just been their thing for a little while. So I think that little small generational organization curse is probably gonna make that the banger.
Why'd you skim over the BLG IG match here, Dom?
I just think that IG, when they play solid, which is weird because you'd think this team would have a lot of variance, but they have like a solid general play style, I would say. But I think that when BLG loses, I mean, BLG is a team that needs to be challenged, and I just don't think that they'll be challenged enough to like actually lose the series. That's just how I feel watching. So we'll see.
So we're moving to 2 best of 5s on the same day, which is crazy, but that is the format that they're going with now for the LPL. Give me one player to watch across the 40 players that'll be playing in the next couple of weeks here, Dom. Yeah, we'll call this segment Nostradamus and Jamadamus.
I'll go with Monkey, bro. I love watching Monkey play. This guy is such a fucking insane psychopath, and I swear he just does so much shit that makes like he just has so much confidence right now. And I love to watch players when they're in the zone like this, and they just feel like when I watch him, it feels like he thinks he can do no wrong. Like right now, he's just fucking vibing and just going for it, which I really respect. And yeah, I don't know, he's just really fun to watch, so I like him.
The Monkey Cube combo, the Monkey Karis combo in full effect. All right, what do you got here for us, Jamadamus?
Monkey would have been one of my first picks too. Yeah, it just feels like, just for a second, I just also want to add, whenever he makes a play, it feels like if the rest of the team isn't around him, it just feels like the team's fault and never his fault. Like that's like the way that a lot of his aggression works. I'm gonna go with maybe a bit of an oddball-ish, and they are technically second, so it feels kind of cheat. It feels like a bit of a cheat, but I'm gonna say Hope. I'm gonna say Hope on AL. I don't know. I've been liking this guy a little bit more and more as of late, and it feels like he's building back up to like 2022, like early 3 levels, again. So I'm gonna give my vote over to Hope. I think there's a lot of like underdog like players I probably could have like landed on here, like Monkey, but I feel like Hope doesn't get spoken about that much on AL either. Like it feels a lot more like the Kyle and Shanks and Tarzan show over there. So I'm gonna land on Hope for my players to watch in this playoffs.
All right. Well, there you have it. LPL play-in's done. LPL playoffs underway, and a couple of things to look out for. If we go further and start doing predictions, then we kind of skip past the whole like drawing out of the season, which is what they're doing by having it only on weekends. 10-hour days suck. Like that's a lot. It's a lot on the voice for casters. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be long days for you, Tom, for one region.
Yeah, I'm doing Ruddy sack in between it. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be horrible. I mean, it's like 1 a.m. start. Yeah, I'm just going to kill myself. It's fine.
Yep. It'll be fine.
End it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, there you have it, y'all. That is this week's episode of Power Spike. Again, go cheer for Ruddy Sack if you know that's your thing.
If you're so inclined.
Yeah, if you're so inclined, I guess it's okay to cheer for the other team. This weekend over in Copenhagen, go see Jamada in person. Let him know how you feel about his takes.
I'm not there. I'm not there.
I thought you were going for one day.
No. I don't have the time. I don't even have the time, because if it started in the evening, then I actually would have probably made a detour because I'm going to Berlin. So like, it's not a long flight, Berlin to Denmark. Like I could have made that detour, but you know, they've got to do the 11 a.m. start. I ain't waking up at like 6 a.m. or like,
well, then you can
3 a.m. to catch a 6 a.m. flight there.
You can watch it in
Dom have to wake up at 3 a.m. one day of your fucking life.
That's so unfortunate. I'll have T1 Hanwha tomorrow, and I'll be on LCK. Thank you again to our brand new sponsor over at Wooting. Again, if you're in the market for keyboard, no better place to go than Wooting. Check it on out. And our friends over at Last Free Nation. You need clothes, they got you covered. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week for more Power Spike action. See ya.